Opinions expressed in this program are those of the program's host and guests, and not necessarily those of WSTU management, staff, or sponsors. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's now time for Leadership in Business, brought to you by John Campion of European Kitchen and Bath. Call in with questions and comments. 220-9788. 220-WSTU. And now, here's your host.
Good evening. Good evening, Treasure Coast, Martin County, Stewart. This is Leadership in Business, and I'm John Campion, your host from European Kitchen and Bath. And I have world famous Big Frank Mezzapal here.
Yes, thank you. It's good to see you once again.
Great sidekick and wonderment man. He knows how to press the buttons. And we have as our guest a very it could
imported from down the road a piece.
Yeah, imported from Indiantown via Palm City.
Yeah.
No, it's Brian Powers is on our show tonight. And Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
I can't believe that I talked you into coming here for a box of Junior Mints. So
yeah,
thank you.
I'd do anything for you, John.
I know. Well, you're a good man. You're one of my favorite people. You're just so even keeled. And I invited Brian to the show tonight because he is one of those resident dudes in the area who knows what's happened. And I won't drag his family into it because Brian has dug his own he's dug his own chute.
Well, he's plowed his own field, right? His own course.
That's right. I used the wrong term, which I'm usually very good at.
That was very close to dug his own grave, by the way.
What I meant, Brian, was he packed his own chute.
There you go. Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Man, it's been a day. I mean, I was at my first meeting today, breakfast meeting at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Good for you.
That took its toll.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the smartest mouth in the audience. There was many, many, many more than me. And they always blame me for talking too much, Brian. And you and I are in, some group together, big group together. I don't talk that much.
Sure.
I get up and talk, say it, and sit down. And then I just take notes.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
That's pretty much what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but main reason I invited Brian and let him, fill us in on stuff is that there's a lot going on in Martin County.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on in the periphery, particularly out in Indiantown. I'm not trying to drag Brian into that, but with everything going on, and I think he might give us, just his view of what's going on out there, how it's kind of overdue. And how exciting to be adding and building on that whole community out there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me.
You bet.
And it's been an amazing journey that we've been on as a community from the time growing up to we've kind of come in these phases of good times and bad times, and man, it just feels like we're right on the edge of another just time of amazing prosperity for our town. And so it's a good time to kind of be at the table. And more recently for us, obviously, I think most people know we incorporated, and how's all that going and everything.
Right.
And I think it's like anything, there's been a lot of growing pains and learning a lot of things, unfortunately harder than we have to, but overall, when you sit back and look at it, I never thought in my lifetime Indiantown would have a high school, and we do now. Like, think about that. That's incredible. And it's not just the building, and a lot of people did a lot of work to make that. Schools don't just show up, right? And so when you think about that aspect, but you got to have water and sewer to a school. You got to have a site. You got to have it's not just a matter of saying, let's raise a few bucks and a building will pop up, right? Let alone the educational logistics that have to happen for that. So
in the base of building that up, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. All of a sudden I had a thought that I could share that might make sense.
Right.
Campion's digging deep tonight.
As you should.
As I should. I've got the man with the facts in front of me, really. I truly believe that. And all the things you're saying are really, to me, amazing. I've only lived in the area 20 years. And always kind of looked at Indiantown was just kind of over here.
Just there.
Yeah.
But Indiantown is so responsible for a big portion of the taxes collected in Martin County, which
Sure.
was the
Business.
impetus for them to become their own municipality.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been a big part of it. And we've been grateful for, partners that
Good
we've
point.
had like FP&L forever. I mean, I don't know what we would have done without them, but, the reality is almost every morning, everybody that lives in Indiantown gets in a car. Usually our rush hour, is between 6 and 7. Like the town is done by 7. And, we're grateful for all the, teachers and policemen and firefighters, and they all come out to administer our town, and that's something that we've always wanted to work on, is how can we create a place where the people that work here can live here, right? And all of the people that work there that can live there. And so it feels really good that that's certainly a direction that we're heading. Whenever that conversation would occur, you have to remember, unlike other places, we just haven't built any housing to speak of in decades. So like you got to be super careful and intentional about how you start that up. You don't just start slapping them up there, and we've got a great partner in the Garcia Company in Terralago and what they've built, and it's going to be great that they're starting with housing that people can afford to live in. It's a lot of Indiantown, it serves a lot of the rest of the coast, and that's fine. We've gone through a lot of different phases, but I'm really excited about the fact that it's not just it's about the whole package, right? It's not just about houses. It's not just about the workforce. It's not just about the education. But when that all comes together, we really do feel like we're on the verge of some magic that's about to happen, and things that most people don't know are like we've struggled for a long time are, the kids that go through our elementary and middle schools do great. And then they struggle in high school. That's been something we've dealt with for a long time. And we think having a new high school is going to really change that, and so it's like, those are kids that ultimately we want them to move back to Indiantown as well. We just got to have a place for them to live when they come, and so it's all kind of intertwined together, but it's been really fun to kind of be on the periphery. I'm not in it like I used to be, but it's still kind of cool to watch and think that in our lifetime all this could happen, because in the beginning it never seemed like it would.
Well, I look at it like, you talk about you can't just whip these homes up. There's got to be some really good planning in there. And then as this whole thing evolves, I see it going like you're going to get to the point and go, wow, we didn't know we'd be here. So let's do this. I mean, they have the flexibility to do that as far as I can see and from what I understand and hear. So, I'm not expecting you to be the, exclusive authority. I think about a lot of my friends I know that have served on the first, I should say friends, acquaintances, people that I know.
Sure.
I'm reading who's going to be on the commission or whatever. They have their own commission out there, right? Yeah,
we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you have do you live in Indiantown now? I know that you were raised there.
I live outside the boundary of Indiantown, but I'll always be from Indiantown.
Okay.
I mean, it's
good. Well, you speak very confidently and proudly of it, as you should, because, I met one of your family members before you, I think. And, and so I, am just really tickled to be sharing some time with you in one of our business groups. And, he's like the calming doctor. Ask Powers. Okay, so he doesn't.
Everything will be all right.
It will be. It will be after you talk to Brian,
right?
Because he is very. He's very, very
reassuring.
But if you think about it, if you make a list of the times things didn't work out, and the times that things did work out, and that you didn't think they would, it works out more times than it doesn't, right? Or it's a pretty good ratio. And so I just try to bring myself back to that when I find myself on that edge of that cliff and just say, it has worked out more times than it hasn't. I've been very fortunate.
Man, that's just so positive.
It's a good positive attitude. Yeah.
So
the high school and filtering or circling back to the high school, the reading that I have done on this high school
Mhm.
project, it was that the high school was going to be more vocationally
Oh.
centric.
And it will.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
which again, we are blessed with a great education system here, right? So it wasn't just to have another high school to say we have another high school, right? It was about how can that be a resource
And
to
prepare these
to-
children or these
right,
young men
right.
and women.
And the reality is when you look at and you hear this on the news all the time, they're struggling for those kind of jobs. FP&L has a very hard time getting people to enter as linemen and other careers. And quietly, one of the other great things about Indiantown is they just announced, FP&L did, that they're building 2 new solar centers on top of the 2 that we already have. So we're going to go, we're going to have more solar panels probably than there are people in this county. Well, who takes care of those? Right. Just your average person, it's a skilled labor position and they don't have enough people to do those kind of jobs. And so we're really excited that whatever that is, and it's not all about FP&L, but these are not just the entry-level run-of-the-mill jobs. These will be skilled positions that will be great careers for people. It's just that you wouldn't get it using the normal path. It's not something that you go to community college, although Indian River State College has been great in supporting that and everything, but but it's not the traditional curriculum that you would go to. And so just overall from a community, it's like a tool that you have in the box, and
Right.
we've had it before, and sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, but like right now it just feels like we've added a lot of tools in the box and it's a great time to start using them.
Wow. I mean, it's really, to me, it's just, I don't want to say it's mind numbing, but one of the things that I thought was pretty interesting. Now this is more far fetched than what they're doing in Indiantown is like the state fair. Jay Spicer working really hard on trying to get that 5 million raised, and for the facility that would be second to none out there.
Right.
You already got your rodeo out there.
Absolutely. But what's cool about that, when long before we were a village, we had our own community redevelopment area, and in our original plan in 1999, the first 3 things that we wanted was we wanted improvements on 710 so it didn't look like a freeway, like a drag strip, which we got. We wanted an assisted care living facility because, again, people, we've drained the best neighbors that we ever had in Indiantown. Sometimes they age out because we didn't have anywhere else for them to live. And so we really wanted that. And I think that will be one of the phases of the new Terralago. And one of the third ones was we wanted the fairgrounds. We've always wanted the fairgrounds. We think it's
a good fit.
Yeah, we think so too, and so, we're hopeful when the timing, kind of becomes right for that that'll be a great resource as well.
It seems far fetched, but you know what? Anything's possible.
Sure.
Just like, because whatever you make it, it will become.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that. And that's probably,
and Jay is very, like Brian, very positive guy.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, he's, gung ho. I think
very forward leaning.
I think we should have a arm wrestling with the two of you. Hey, Jay Spicer here. Where's my opponent at? Brian Powers. I'm right over here, Jay. Are you ready? John, you set? Okay.
Funny.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess I should have.
You'd be the commentator. You'd You'd be calling the action on that one.
Get ready to rumble. Sorry. I'm sorry I have the kind of detailed off the road here, everyone, but I do it every week. It can't wait. So that ought to send Charlie to the phone.
Right.
I hope he's okay. I hope he's doing all right today.
Yeah.
So, but no, really, Brian, that's amazing. You've worn quite a few hats in your young years.
I don't get called young very much anymore, so thank you for that.
Well, that's when I hang around Frank.
Yeah,
I feel really young.
Yeah,
look at him. Every time I see Frank, he's getting younger. Look at his hair's. All the grays went away.
Yeah,
I think they went down to your eyebrows.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that, pal.
Yeah.
Well, at least you have hair.
Yeah,
both of you. So you did the right things in your life. You didn't.
Hey,
didn't abuse
It's
your
genetics.
It's genetics,
Yeah,
right?
I can't take any
Yeah,
credit for it.
Bowers, Bowers. It's the Florida name for Italian.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bowers. No, I'm sorry.
That's all good.
So Bri, let's talk about it's very interesting is you've watched what's going on. I'm very curious. When I took a leadership class with the Stewart Martin County Chamber
Mm-hmm.
12, 13 years ago, we got a call.
We got a caller on our newsmaker line. Yes.
Well, we can't
Go
ignore
ahead,
that.
caller.
Well, John and Frank
Hey.
and the young gentleman,
Brian.
I got called young
Brian,
again. We're on a
see?
roll.
leave the gauntlet down, with the arm wrestling.
Yeah.
At least you didn't say, like Biden, I'll let you push-ups.
Oh, Charlie, I got
There we
something I
go.
need to send you. I'll send it to Frank. He can forward it to you.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
I got to tell you this, and you can probably check it out on your own. There's a movie out there, I think that Lloyd Bridges did a few years ago, is a parody, kind of like Airplane, and
Mm-hmm.
called
Oh, yeah,
Hot
yeah.
Shots.
I saw that.
Oh yeah, hot shots.
And
Yeah.
he says there's all the cuts he sent me, and this friend of mine from Detroit sent me was all the cuts from it, and it was like, this is Joe Biden 15 years ago, and I got to tell you, it'll make you roll out of your chair and
I love it.
underneath the car, Charlie, from what I understand. I mean, I watched it. I laughed my butt off. I passed
Oh,
it.
I saw that movie. And when you said pack your own shoe,
Yes.
I love that expression.
Isn't that great?
That's one of my favorite ones. I've said that to a lot of
That's a Zig
employees.
Ziglar
Yeah.
expression.
Is that where I got that?
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so I-
It's a good
you
metaphor.
also say it in the paratroopers too.
Paratroopers, yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
It's like the ones in the 101st, I would say that. Right?
Yeah, and the 82nd, I was in that one too.
Yeah.
But anyway, Indian Town is definitely it. And I experienced what when I grew
Brian.
up in Cold Spring Harbor, Long Island.
Mhm.
We didn't have a high school. So it opened up when I was a sophomore.
Hmm.
Frank, that was when I got kicked out after that.
So you
But
missed,
anyway,
a year.
and there was a junior. It was freshman, sophomore, junior
Mhm.
that year.
Sophomore.
Wow.
junior.
Anyway.
So you
but
graduated
Frank
in
and I
3
were
years.
bad boys. We shared some experiences. It must be height related. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Oh yeah, height challenged. But like I was talking to somebody last night. Yeah, but you still fit in an airplane a lot
Yeah.
better than I do.
Yeah.
You know?
There you go.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get off the
All right.
air and listen to you guys, your banter.
All right.
Very
Well,
good.
if you have
Thanks,
to put your depends on because we're going to make you laugh so hard, don't be afraid to do it.
Oh, I've been doing some belly laughs lately. You guys are great.
Okay. Tighten up that core.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for the call. All right. Bye.
Palm City Charlie. He's got a lengthy history.
Mhm.
Awesome.
One day in the store, back in my office, and I hear this voice.
Yeah, I
And
know that voice.
And I said, "Hey, are you Palm City Charlie?" It wasn't. And so it was like later that day or something, Palm City Charlie came walking into my office. He goes, "Hi, you remember this voice?" I go, "There you are." So that's how I met him.
Nice.
That's
Came
great.
down to see me. Right, Charlie? Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. Yes, nod. But he lives over in Old Palm City, and
That's
he calls
wonderful.
us every week and
Yeah.
has nice things to say.
Yes.
We enjoy bantering with him. It's so.
Wonderful.
So what's your favorite thing about being on the radio? No, my big question was,
Mhm.
I remember when I did leadership, and it was
Mhm.
still kind of new to the area, but when we went out to Indian Town, the commercial,
Mhm.
the businesses, the big businesses,
Right. The industrial base.
how many industrial based type companies are out there now? Do you know approximately?
It's if you define it as the pure industrial base, well, a couple things. One, they're really big, so you don't have to have a whole lot to have a huge impact on your
Right.
tax base. But
Right.
of the true industrial classification, there's probably 5 or 6.
Okay, so
You
we've got
know,
6 big
like-
companies out there.
Yeah, like, well, but some things like maybe a lot of people don't know, that we have one of the flour mills out there. They mill the flour pretty much for all of South Florida.
Are you allowed to say these things?
I suppose. Well,
Yeah.
nobody stopped me yet, but
The FCC's not here yet, Frank.
yeah, but like when you go into a Panera or a Publix or a Little Caesars or whatever, the flour was milled in Indiantown, and they don't make the eggs there. Like I think they just distribute them now, but pretty much all the eggs in the Southeast come out of Indiantown. They're mostly raised in Okeechobee now, but we're the distribution center. But all of Walmart and Publix and everything else. The dividing line used to be from Melbourne to Marathon and the Keys, but I don't know if that's still true. But those are some ones that we've quietly had for a long time, and and then we had a cogeneration plant, and it's gone away, but like so many things in Indiantown, that just opens the door to what's next. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and so we're excited. I think that's going to be one of the 2 new solar projects, from what I can tell. And so, we get to tell a little different version of a story, and of course we've had FP&L forever. And again, they've been just a great partner forever, but
Unbelievable.
yeah.
So these plants, these are going to be similar to the one out on 995 up by Fort Pierce, the solar energy panel plant. You ever seen that?
Oh no, like
that.
In
right?
that sense, they'll be similar.
Right.
We have one of them like that, and then we have one that's at the power plant. It's a solar hybrid plant, and it's different than the other 2. But just for a small town to have 4 different solar plants in your neighborhood,
It's
and
amazing.
there was a time, we used to be the bulk of the power on the FPNL system was also made in Indiantown, and I don't know that that's entirely true, but still a large majority. It wasn't the majority, but still a large piece of it is made there. But we got some other things coming too. A guy that's going to make, for lack of a better description, medical grade charcoal is coming, and a medical device company. I don't know much about them, but they're coming, and it's just
that would be for purification for air or water, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and so you just it just
doing your homework.
Yeah, but that seems kind of how it kind of goes, and it takes forever to do it. But then you're,
right.
and then so but once you get it,
That's where that whole evolution things comes from. We get to this
Yeah.
point, and then we might take a right turn here. Or
yeah,
plenty of room to
and
pivot.
We've had a lot of interest in Bitcoin out in Indiantown. There's just, well, because we have so much power available, like when the juice plant closed down, there was a lot of power infrastructure left available, and those guys, they just want to come in and hook up to something, and so it's kind of interesting in that, quietly, that's just been another thing that we're doing, and I mean,
Who would have thunk it?
yeah, no, I
Right?
know,
Easy,
I know.
Frank.
Sense.
There's certain things you can say and can't say on the radio. It's only allowed for Brian Powers. Let's get the power.
But we have, we have probably some of the biggest broadband, for a town our size, and we've been looking at data centers too. None of them have occurred, but it's still just kind of cool to
It's
be
an opportunity.
in a small town and think, and a lot of data centers are in towns you never heard of, and so it's like,
Right.
why not us?
Right.
There you go.
You know,
And that's
so-
what you have to think. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going to take a break, Frank?
Mhm. Yeah. We're
All
gonna
right.
toss it to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
All right. Leadership in business has ways of turning funny
And
things.
now-
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Maybe I hang around here a little more than I should. We both know I got somewhere.
Little shout out to Olivia Newton-John.
Well done,
yeah,
Frank.
yeah.
Well,
So
what a
yeah.
voice, huh?
So a little known fact. So of Olivia Newton-John, this is my only Olivia Newton-John joke story. If she had married Sir Laurence Olivier, divorced him, married Wayne Newton, divorced him, and then married Elton John, she'd be Olivia Newton, John.
I always thought if she married Elton John, that would just be
That would
funny.
be amazing all by itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they'd have to fight over the eyeglasses and the sunglasses.
and the
yeah.
panty. Never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a
Yeah.
family show. Brian, how'd you let me do that? That's like
Anyways.
they put the 5-second delay in. I
You-
thought it was for me, but it's really for Brechtel across the hall.
Yeah.
You got to be yourself, John.
Yeah.
Well, and you know me,
Yes, I do.
we
yes.
the stories we could tell, but we won't. But so what do you got this day in history?
I got some interesting this day in history. Fulton's Folly happened on this day in history.
Am I supposed to remember that?
Yes, it was studied in American history, but I'll review it for
They
you.
probably studied that in Detroit.
In 1787, young Robert Fuller of Pennsylvania traveled to London to study painting, ended up learning how to make steamboats. And he did that, experimented with that, came back to the U.S. He was the American ambassador to France, where he developed a love for that. And he built a paddle boat and went up the Hudson River on August 17th, 1807. And the crowd gathered on the riverbank to watch the launch of the boat driven by a tea kettle.
What?
And the rest is history.
Nice.
That's a really cool story, Frank.
right.
You get any more of those?
That was called Fulton's Folly because they
okay.
didn't.
Because they
believe-
didn't do it.
They didn't believe it would happen.
Okay.
Yeah, he got a lot of bad press. So a lot of 30 people showed up, which I guess was a big crowd in that time to watch him fail, but
See?
he didn't.
They weren't doing the radio show.
No, they didn't. And on this date in 1969, Hurricane Camille slammed to the
wow.
Gulf Coast, killing approximately 250 people.
So that must have been. Well, you were.
Yeah,
You were.
I was 3.
Aw.
Oh, okay. I was sitting there trying to figure out what class you were.
Wow. And it's, 2008 in Beijing, swimmer Michael Phelps becomes the first athlete to win 8 gold medals in a single Olympics.
Okay, so what happened on your birthday when you turned 18? Do you know?
On my birthday, when I was 18, I don't know. Nothing notable
You
that I'm
can't
aware
remember.
of. Nothing.
It's like I tell people, for me,
Yeah.
I forgot what happened between 40 and 64, and then now I'm.
A lot of notable people, though, were born. I share the same birth date with a lot of notable people. My boss, Carol Wyatt.
She is notable.
She shares the same birthday with myself. Astronaut Neil Armstrong, also born on August 5. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's kind of neat.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't that long
Interesting.
ago.
Yeah.
Recently.
I don't know how many people were born on January 27th.
January 27th. So you were not popular at your house, right? Because you should have been born on December 31st, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
right.
dad missed the
It's
tax
like,
year.
Damn it, darn it, Dick! You just missed it out by
Yeah.
30 days.
Yeah.
I
Too
never
funny.
thought of that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why they treated me like they have.
It could be.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's why
lost
Mom always liked
a
my
tax
brother.
year deduction.
Yeah, Tom was born in May and Jill was born in September, so they
Yeah.
were clear.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
he
so
was
you're on the
30
cusp.
days late.
Yeah. In
Great.
December. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a complex. Brian, tell me what it was like growing up in Indiantown as a kid. I mean, you just had a normal life. You thought it was great. I mean, it's almost like, what do you call it? Idiot, not idiotic, idyllic.
Yeah, idyllic.
Idyllic. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think of.
It was. I
Yeah.
mean, I was really blessed to grow up with 2 great parents, and that was the core of it. And my dad, from before there was me or the Mrs. Bowers, there was Indian Town Gas, and he started that and kind of grew up in that business. We all did in our family, and had the good fortune to take that over and run it for a few decades, and kind of, moved on a few years ago and sold that. But, growing up in town, it was really great. It was just a different time. Like it was good and bad because all the law enforcement lived there. And when you grew up and you got in trouble, like your dad knew before you got home. It was one of those kind of deals.
Yeah.
But
Jeez, I was
Right.
one step below that. So.
well, but it was kind of like you didn't know as a kid, but when I was growing up there, the whole town was watching all the kids,
Yeah.
all the time.
That's great.
Like no kid
That's
ever,
very
you know
cool.
what I mean? And that was really a great experience. And we had, it was just different back then, but like we had a volunteer fire department, and my parents were two of the first. They started an ambulance. Thank you. And they it was a volunteer ambulance. Like they bought the ambulance and they ran it and all of
Wow.
that. And that was a cool experience kind of
Yeah.
growing up, and you never know where. And they had it all worked out because like when your mom was driving the ambulance and you were at somebody's house, you might have to stay at their house. You didn't know mom's gonna get in the ambulance and go. And but I was so proud of them, like what it meant, the difference it made for our town. Like literally people lived that would have died because like where would the ambulance have come from otherwise?
And so the ambulance
things.
is going all the way down by us here. They've got to make it out there, and
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
she wouldn't be home for a while,
Well,
Brian.
we've been fortunate, to have the fire services that we
That's
have
pretty
for sure.
cool.
But back in the day, it was just different, and I'm really proud of it. There were probably 8 or 9 families that got together, and the husband and the wife, and they had to get the training and everything,
Sure,
and
certifications.
then they traded off, in shifts, and there was a group, when the husband was on, the wife, and when somebody else's wife was on, and vice versa, and so. But it was really a great service to our town, and there were so many, little things like you don't really think about today, but we only had one highway, and when you wanted to have the parade, they literally would shut the highway down. You can't really do that now. It's a 4-lane divided highway, but back
I
then,
picture that. I picture a town I lived in, suburb in Chicago.
yeah,
And we had the best, Dee and I were talking about that the other day. I mean, not that she was there because she wasn't,
mhm.
but it was the great parades that we had in small towns.
Yeah, but all the little stuff that went with it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the benefit barbecues they had right in the park in
Oh
the middle
yeah,
of town.
right.
And
Kiwanis and
and
the Boy Scouts
and the JCs were super active
JCs.
where we were, and
Yeah.
like it just.
Yep.
And I don't mean to like I said, I'm equally excited about where we are today, but I was just blessed to grow up in a small town at the time that we did, out of all the other experiences that we could have had,
Right.
and so it was really great.
Frank grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
It was called Detroit.
Yeah. Old English D. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I lived on the other
Well-
side of Michigan in idyllic land too.
Nice.
Where I lived, it was
Well, it's funny.
You're
I
the
mean,
Grand Rapids, right?
no, it was
You were
Spring Lake, west of Grand Rapids.
west of Grand Rapids.
Yeah, you go 25 miles west of Grand Rapids, and you're on Lake Michigan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, tough life.
really. Oh yeah, beautiful.
but
sandy beaches.
Very.
it's funny. I mean, in the work we do now, from a technology standpoint, we have a development team. It's kind of an e-commerce thing, and they're based in Bloomfield Hills,
Mhm.
and
Not too far from where I used to live. Yeah.
and we've never met them.
Yeah.
A team of 4,
Yeah.
and they're great people. We see
Yeah.
them on Zoom all the time, and they're
That's funny.
amazingly talented.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's just
It's
where
good.
they're
Isn't
where
that
they're
great?
from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know.
It's funny because one of my employees is from, I think she's from West Bloomfield.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And my roommate is from Grosse Pointe.
Mhm.
So you got this huge, all these towns you mentioned. It's when I went to college up in Michigan in Kalamazoo, which
Mhm.
people think that's not a real place. And,
Zoo. Oh yeah.
and if I went there, it must not have been, because
Mhm.
who else would have accepted me?
Right.
But, I was from, Kalamazoo, it's not quite in the middle of the state like Lansing is, but where I lived, everybody was from, well, when I met people at school from Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I never went to a school that had, mixed race. I
Mhm.
always was, when we moved around everywhere, we were always, in the nice areas. And, so when I went to school, that was a whole new thing for me.
Right.
And that was, a whole nother part of me growing up. And of course, after that, I lived plenty of places
Right.
that, had mixed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, mixed it up.
And that is really essentially Americana.
It
right?
is. It is a slice of a good slice of Americana.
Right.
So, Brian, as I know you in a few different ways from our business group that we're in. I always got a lot of respect for you and your insight into
Thank you.
everything, because you think about things logically. And you're very, I guess, what's the word? Pragmatic?
I try to be.
Yeah, you are. You are. So, but, hey, what I want to bring up for a second, we mentioned it briefly, was, I don't know if you want to do it after this break, man.
Yes. You want to talk about Frankie?
Yeah, let's talk about Brian and
awesome.
what we did, send him out on a mission. And
Okay.
it was successful.
Very good. We'll do that.
Right back.
Sorry, I didn't think about the phone. I should have silenced it.
That's fine.
Kalamazoo. And we'll be right back.
Sorry, I said that. We weren't out, were we?
It's all right. That's all right.
It's all right. As long as you don't say.
Yeah. No bad words.
The end of the Civil War was near when Clark accidentally.
A little fun from F Troop.
Yeah.
Okay.
We by the way, do you know how many years F Troop was on TV?
I don't.
Do you remember the show?
No, I was pretty young when that was
Yeah,
on.
you were.
That was 65 through 67.
Right.
And you know why it only lasted 2 years? Come on, Brian. What's the matter with you? Don't you ever talk to your brothers?
2 years. They're younger than me.
Oh, that's true.
So why was it on for 2 years?
Larry Storch, Stork, whatever you want to call him,
yes.
Storch,
Mm-hmm.
who was kind of like the, he was the funny guy.
Corporal Agarn.
Okay,
Yeah.
he, corporal. He's a corporal. He fell off a horse and broke his hip.
Oh
right?
boy, yeah.
That's
And
right.
so he
Mhm.
couldn't do anything. So they called the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that reminds me of
They
when
lost their sponsor while they were waiting for him to heal.
Sure.
That's what
right.
happened.
Well,
it just gets anyways. It's like the big athletes who are told not to ride a motorcycle, or they go out and roll it, or
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're not supposed to drive race cars, and
But
took
they do.
their
Yeah.
Lamborghini and turned it into a linguini.
Right. So let's talk about your Frankie experience, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you went to John's store and
Well,
Why
He
don't you
hooked you
tell
up?
why you did and how you set that? We set that up.
sure. Well,
It's
so
okay.
we had ambitious plans well more than a year ago to do a remodel and do the kitchen sink, and our kids have moved on, and so you get a chance to reallocate, and that was very much what
The
the project was
funds.
about, right? So then it's like the next thing is like more Melissa than me, but hey, go to Pinterest and find something really cool, and it's like, well, which she did, and then it's like, well, where are we ever going to find that? I have no idea what it is or anything, and I'm like, just come with me. I'm sure we'll.
So Brian
Yeah.
says, I got a guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She goes, what does that mean?
Exactly. So we did, and we went in there, and but before that it's really the coolest part. I knew that we would go there, but being able to go on the website and what you've done with that is remarkable. And the whole idea of a wish list, that because you see, whether you see it on Pinterest or anywhere else on the web, trying to get back to what you saw is very hard, and being able to just push a button and say it's on my list, and if something happened and I couldn't come back for a year, it was amazing. And when we got in the store, it was kind of like they could look up our list, and it was oh, I see that one, well, let's come over here. And it was just a great experience.
Very
and
fluid, right?
yeah, well, in a way that would be almost impossible to have done otherwise. And I just I really applaud you, John, because that's kind of we don't think of ourselves as really ever changing. Like, I'm sure you don't think that much has changed, from the time that you started till now. But in the meantime, here you are, like, it's remarkable, this whole new technology. And it was great for us.
I have to remember. Maybe next show I'll talk about all the things that have changed in 20 years.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you,
you should. And but for us, that was a great, and I don't know how long you had that, but like it was a great experience for us to be able to take advantage of it. And there's so many things with technology like that are coming around, but not everybody takes advantage of it, and so my hat's off to you guys
Thanks.
for doing what
Coming
you've
from
done.
you,
Yeah.
that is like major cool.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
reported good on that.
Good.
So you found what you liked online, then you were able to see it in the store,
Yeah.
and then you finalized your selection.
Right. And like for me, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, it fits and it's the right size. I'm good, but Melissa wanted to go, it's great to see it online, but to be able to go to put your hands on it and
Yes.
feel like, because we've always had like stainless steel sinks. And so to be able, what does a granite composite sink feel like? How is it different? And like when I go to clean it,
Right.
how's that going to be?
Right.
For her was very big. And it was nice to get the best of both worlds, because
We were tactile animals. We really like the see, touch, feel, and
We-
that helps us understand. Really.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not super complicated on that. I just, when it comes to clothes or anything else, I just look at it and like, yeah, that'll do.
You're one of the good ones.
Listen,
yeah.
I grew up selling wallpaper to women.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So from the catalogs, and so they'd describe a design that they're after, what the look was. So I'd find them a couple, 2-3 pages of different patterns for them to choose from, and they'd, oh, I like this, or I like that. Do you have more? They always wanted to see
Frank,
more.
the ladies' man.
But that was always my experience. So you learn to be very patient,
Yeah.
because there's an awful lot of again, that tactile
Yeah.
requirement. They want to see it, touch it, feel it. And when flock wallpaper came out, wow, that was like, wow. That's wallpaper has a little fuzzy feel to it,
You
right?
say flock?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
But
I thought it was.
but it was.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, like if I went shopping with my
Yeah.
mom, it was just like you described, Frank.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna get shoes, you're gonna try them on, and I'm like, hey, I like the blue ones. I don't like the red ones. I'm like,
Right.
good. I know
Right.
what size I am.
Right.
And then a couple times I went with my dad, and like we didn't try anything on. He'd go.
Go off the shelf.
No,
Yeah.
literally, he'd say, the mannequin, I'll buy what he's wearing.
Right.
Here's my size.
Right.
He'd make somebody else go get it. I'm like, that's more my style too. Like,
Yeah. I like that.
as long as you know what your size is, you can
Right.
get whatever you want. But
They can take hours to buy a car. I would try to go buy a car in an hour. I don't care.
right.
Let's close
I
this
just-
deal.
Nice.
Yeah. It's just more my style, I guess.
I
So
like it.
the other cool thing, Brian, is that I understand the product that you put into your shower. You love it.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. We had never had a thermostatically controlled. I think that's the right term.
Yes, it is.
And it is very cool to just be able to turn it, and all you got to, and whether you use the shower head or the wand, it stays the same. You just flip it from one to the other.
Right,
And,
right. It's
so
good.
It has been great. Yeah. And,
Cool.
we have a grandkid now. And so when he's old enough and we sit him down in there to give him a bath, it'll be nice to know once we'll put a mark. I'm sure Melissa will. This is his temperature.
There you
And that's
go.
where it'll be.
Right,
It'll be
right.
different than ours. And
Yeah.
it was very cool to be able to do that as well.
Well, you know,
So-
you spent the money on the upgrade, and I
Yeah.
hope you can enjoy that for several
It's
years.
been fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
A gentleman today brought in a very expensive shower head that the client he was working on, it was a Hans Grohe 11-inch shower head that they discontinued, and he goes, man, this thing is heavy, and he brought in, and I had him hand it to one of my employees. I go, oh my God, it was like a discus. And that thing sells to, when the guy bought it 11 years ago, it was probably about 400 maybe.
Wow.
But this is
Serious stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So now it's like 700-800.
Wow.
Double. Almost
Yeah.
double.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
But it's still available.
well, you can get, yes, you can. The S1 Jet 300. Sorry.
Nice.
Oh,
love it.
Brian, I'm telling you, I'm in there. Anyways, let's talk about Brian. We need to talk about my boring stuff. So I really appreciate you guys coming and doing that whole exercise with us. That really meant
Absolutely.
a lot. We had him working with one of my salespeople,
Mhm.
and she proved her worth. And
It was
we
fantastic.
kind of, it was kind of like Mr. Secret Shopper, but not.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
and he said, "Hey, I want to do this," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, man, thanks. Who else?"
At the end of the day, we're all in the customer service business, and it's
That's
like,
it.
and I really do. I try hard every day, and I'm not that great every day, but I try to get better,
mhm.
at that aspect. And part of that is studying how do other people do, what do they do good, and what do they need to work on. And
That is
So-
such a big thing. I was watching a little a podcast through the Kitchen and Bath Association right before I came,
Mhm.
and they had a woman on there who is a coach. She coaches and helps direct interior designers.
Yeah.
And they were talking. The lady
Mhm.
interviewing her asked her, what are the four major things that can be a detriment for you right now? One was supply chain. The other one was pricing.
yeah,
The other one was again kind of lead time, and then how are you going to improve your business? Well, when she stated the first three things out of the four were exactly what we're trying to do. It's like it's everywhere, So we all have work to do, whether it's whether
Right.
getting the employee or figuring out how you're going to go about
right.
doing things. Supply chain, for example. I got off the phone and I walked by one of my salespeople, and he had gotten a beautiful order today. I mean,
Mhm.
about $9,000.
Nice.
And the people came in looking. They were looking at maybe buying some stuff that we had on discontinued the other day. Well, they ended up putting an order in with Carlos for everything, all new stuff.
Nice.
All new stuff.
Yeah.
And then he went and got all the dates of when they were available. Oh
Wow.
my God. Everything
Yeah.
from in stock to December.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, at least
And
it's
that's-
this year.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. We have a few of them when they move. It's really
It could end up
disturbing.
being like John Campion being following into the following year.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Mm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be happy to go
Yeah.
this year.
But
I'll
the
be happy to go this year.
Yeah, but the real value is knowing that you have somebody that can talk to you. They know that you're not in charge of the supply chain. They just want you to be able to keep them updated. And that's really
Right.
where the value is.
Right.
And
So,
whatever you're doing.
so now we have to kind of go look and find some alternates. And,
Mhm.
or can some of these things be substituted? Maybe,
Right.
so we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there. We all
Right.
recognize it.
Right.
And hiring people, we all recognize it, and finding the right person.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Brian hit that exactly right, though. It's all about keeping the customer up to speed and keeping them involved in
Communication.
that
That was
Yeah.
one of the other ones this
Right.
woman talked about. I
Yeah.
mean, you can never over communicate.
Right. And it sounds so simple to say that, and yet, like when you look around, like when you notice and you walk around, that's so underdone
Exactly.
in a lot of places.
No, I agree. And when I give my advice of, have you called this person? You really should just call them.
Mhm.
You know, and the one
Yeah.
thing you want to make sure you do is you want to call that person back before they call you.
Right.
That's one of the things I learned from my
See.
brother. He says, if you think you have to call somebody, call them.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel much better when you know, I was first. Beat ya.
Gotcha.
Well, but you know, as a customer, that's how, if you call me, if I need you and you call me before, you know.
Yeah.
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 I know.
Yes.
I know all.
Yes.
I am the mighty Oz.
And now our listeners know.
Yeah,
And
pain
they-
it.
And they know to tune in next week for much more.
You bet. We are really, as you can see, our guests are, I know, knowledgeable, top shelf people, and that's what
Thank
I'm going to
you.
try to bring through here to elevate everybody what they think about me. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Thank
Frank.
you, Brian. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. Take care.